You're listening to a podcast from the BBC World Service. This is Hardtalk with me, Stephen Sacker. Thanks for downloading this edition of the programme. I do hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Hardtalk on the BBC World Service with me, Stephen Sacker. Today I'm in Beijing for a special programme in the BBC's Freedom Season. My guest is China's most famous artist and dissident, Weiwei. I've come to see him in one of Beijing's outlying suburbs, in a building closely monitored by the Chinese authorities. A host of security cameras keep unblinking watch outside. Ai Weiwei has long been regarded with deep suspicion by the Beijing government. His internationally successful artwork, installations, photographs, videos, even his blogs and tweets all challenge the repressive authoritarian system built by the Chinese Communist Party. In 2011, he was accused of financial crimes, imprisoned for 81 days, and fined over $2 million. His passport has still not been returned. So he stays here, using his studio, the internet, and collaborators around the world to continue his creative challenge to state power. In a sense, he's continuing a family tradition. His father was a well-known poet, banished to years of hard labour during Mao's Cultural Revolution. The struggle for artistic freedom, all kinds of freedom, goes on. But can it succeed? Well, Ai Weiwei joins me now. Welcome to Hardtalk.
Thank you.
How easy is it to be an artist, to be creative, in the circumstances that you find yourself in today?
I think being an artist in this kind of circumstance has some difficulties, some obstacles, but also have this condition create a very special platform. You have to dealing. Sometimes it's necessary to dealing with the matters which not very normal for the artists we normally call. But in Chinese tradition, you do have an artist who is under some kind of very strange condition, such as foreign invasion. Many different dynasties, they have foreign invasions. And their whole life is making art about it.
So in a sense, you see yourself in that tradition of finding ways to be creative in adversity.
I think, yes, you have to be honest to facing the condition and to trying to find some kind of solution or to live with it. So your expression has to deal with it.
In learning how to deal with it, how important do you think it's been for you to think of your own father? Because you have this history in your family. Your father was a very famous poet in China. And during the Cultural Revolution, Mao's Cultural Revolution, he was banished to the countryside, forced into hard labor. And you were a child, and you saw all of that. Do you think that experience, in a way, has helped you to deal with this situation?
At the beginning, I never consciously think I'm trying to relate myself to my family background. But after I was arrested, the first thing come to my mind is, now I become same as my father, because 80 years earlier, he was arrested by different party, but with almost similar accusation. So I even told the interrogator, I said, now again, we are the same. So they told me, no, the time is different.
You talk about thinking of your father when you were put in prison, and you spent, I think, 81 days locked up. And you've talked very frankly about how difficult it was. You said, you become mad. It is very hard for anyone to bear. I just wonder whether that was a turning point for you, seeing the inside of a prison?
Yes, to be in that kind of condition, the prisoner condition. Even you have heard all stories about different kind of treatment for the prisoners, but which is very different from you really being there. You start to realize your life has been completely cut off from the past, from anything you're familiar with. And every move, every object, which is all foreign to you, all the kind of discipline, kind of treatment, you cannot use any previous knowledge or wisdom or even emotions. You cannot make any kind of argument. You cannot communicate the same way as you used to do. So it's a very difficult time.
Were you frightened?
It's even hard to say you're frightened or not. I think everybody would be frightened because such an uncertainty, and you never know what kind of treatment they will do to you, and you have nothing protects you. There's no knowledge you can tell anybody. You cannot see lawyers. You cannot call your family, and everything's so restricted. So I guess you're frightened.
And isn't in a way the most terrible thing about that experience is that at any moment the authorities could do it to you again. That is the threat that hangs over you.
I think first you recognize you have a absolute authority, which clearly tells you they don't have to follow the law.
They can do what they like.
Yeah, they're outlaws. And then you feel very sad about your act because you are really basically dealing with people who is not rational. They will never really, their argument has no logic, and you cannot really defend yourself. And after the release, of course, they clearly also tells you they can do it again anytime they think they need to do it.
Did they say that to you?
Oh, yes. I asked them 2 questions. I said, first, you never explained to me why you arrested me. Second, you never really tells me why you released me. They hesitated. Then they tell me 2 things. They said that we can arrest you anytime we want to, and we don't ever have to release you again.
Let me ask you this. In the middle of prison experience, or maybe every day of your life, today even, do you think to yourself, maybe I should have stayed in America? You were a young artist in New York City. You were making a success of your artistic life. You had freedom. You chose to come back to China, and I wonder if there's a part of you that regrets that.
Only once in my life I had a moment of regrets is when they put the black hole on my face and secretly drive me to this secret location in 2011.
To the prison?
Yes, I was sitting in the chair. The black hole is still on my head, and for hours nobody come to take that off. And I cannot see anything. I'm sure I'm in a room, but without any noise. So I thought, oh, how stupid I was not to get an American passport.
I want to stick with the theme of America for a minute and talk about your work, your art. There are those, maybe in China particularly, who say, Ai Weiwei, he's an artist who's not really Chinese. he's been so influenced by the United States and the West. He makes art for them. He doesn't make art that Chinese people can relate to or means anything to them. How do you respond to that?
I think that kind of assumption is very wrong. If you can say my work cannot be shown here, then you can tell my work is so much related to here. This will be the strongest argument. Probably I'm the only artist in China cannot show my works here. And not only in the art galleries, you cannot type my words in Chinese internet, and nobody can share the photos they're taking with me on Chinese internet. They will be immediately deleted. So that really gave me a strong argument. My work is really designed for this society.
Do you intend to be provocative? Because I'm thinking of some of your work and your images, the famous image you took of yourself naked with just a toy rabbit hiding your modesty and a slogan which could be read as very rude about the ruling party. Or I'm thinking of the installation you created out of backpacks of children to mark all of those children who were killed in the Sichuan earthquake when so many schools collapsed. It seems you have a desire to poke the powers that be in China.
I would not disagree as an artist. I do have the intention to questioning all the existence or beings, and to really trying to use my act either to questioning or to give a new definition, to really make it clear. So
does that make you political? Are you political?
I think as a result, I would accept people think I'm very political, but that was not the intention. I think if somebody questioning about the reality or truth or facts, it always become a political act. And in the family, in between friends, relatives, or in a nation, this is very clear.
So, in a way, it's impossible to separate art and politics, particularly in China today.
Yes, I would say this is not possible for an intellectual or artist not to asking for the truth, to really associate its own creativity with the reality, and to make some kind of argument which protects freedom of speech, protects the human dignity. I think how can you avoid it? I really don't think that I have that kind of skill.
Do you think there's an irony here that, in a way, you have become more internationally known and famous because of the Chinese government's efforts to control you, to stop you traveling, to monitor you, to surveil you? That, in a way, has worked against their interests because it's made you more of a symbol throughout the entire world.
I think you're right. This is very graphic sense, so I have to I try to make them understand. I clearly tell them, you're the one make me so in the obvious famous.
You are famous. Look, you have exhibitions all around the world, from New York to London to the Venice Biennale. Everybody wants to see Ai Weiwei's work.
Yeah, I told them this is That's the possibility before I become a so-called well-known. And they never listen to me. That's a problem. I really made a very cautious note to them. I said, by doing that, you only make me become a true problem for you.
They've created, in a sense, they've helped create what you are today.
It's true. I mean, how can, in any story, how can we define somebody as a hero or this kind of title only because they have some great obstacles or enemy? So they really build this large stage for me to play. And I'm quite shy on this, but still this is what they did.
You say you're quite shy, but in a sense, you have embraced the global communications potential that comes with the internet in a way that suggests you're not shy at all. Everything you do now, pretty much your whole life, has become a sort of electronic performance, which anybody can see if they have access to the internet.
Well, thanks for the internet, you just have to do very little, just move your fingertip, and then this become so well communicated. I can never imagine I can become like today only because of the internet.
How important is the internet to your art? I mean, to the way you live your life today?
Well, if my art is my life, and without internet, there's no life. So I really think internet is the most precious thing for any individual who want to express itself, or who want to share the feelings or meaning or some concept with other people.
We've talked a lot about freedom and the idea of freedom, and in a sense you're saying the internet has allowed you a new level of freedom and connection, even though your passport remains in the hands of the police. But how difficult is it for you that you can't actually now go to places around the world which are putting on exhibitions of your work?
I think that is to answer, like, if half freedom is freedom, yes, I can produce some work and bring to the museums or galleries, but I cannot really communicate with people there. I cannot give people explanation in depth about my work, and really to answer their questions or even to hear their criticism. So I see art is a continuous activity. It's not ended till the work just finished, but rather to see how it communicates and how other people would mentally be involved, and to continue the discussion. But that has been completely cut off for not allowing me to be there. So I'm always doing my work halfway.
I want to end by having a few thoughts with you about China today, because you can't travel abroad, so maybe in a sense you're looking more closely at your own society. You live in Beijing, and you can travel around Beijing, and you've said some very interesting things about it. You've said that it actually makes you unhappy looking at the people in Beijing because you see a deadness in the eyes of so many people, and you see a complete disconnection between the people, the elite who have money and power, and the ordinary people who live completely disconnected from those in power. It sounds like you're very depressed about your own country.
You will never enjoy your life if you see young people who never receive the full information, who never knows the total truth, who never really can make an argument. You see there's no passion, no courage, no imagination. you will never be satisfied. Your life are ruined if you say, I have my private car, I have my driver. But if you see a person on the, a stoplight, sitting in a bus, their eyes have no hope. They don't know. They don't want to go to the place where they have to work. Then this is terrible. I cannot even look at them, So I think this is not a city you can really enjoy. You can see there are so many people who has... I never see this kind of money in the United States or in the West. They can throw the money so luxuriously and so shamelessly, actually, to buy the most luxurious goods. You see more beautiful cars in Beijing than anywhere in the world.
But you know what the party leadership would say to you? They'd say, it's easy for you to criticize, but we have lifted 500 million people out of poverty. We have, over the last 30 years, raised this country up and given it a prosperity that the Chinese people could never have dreamed of before.
Well, they would never know what people think about them unless they would let them have a voting ticket. Of course, I could be wrong, totally wrong, but just let people, for once, to have a voting ticket. I would shut off my mouth and I would just paint pretty pictures. And, why not? We all have good intentions toward other people.
Final thought. Are you proud to be Chinese today? So much of your art subverts the mythology of Chinese history, of, Chinese nationalism. You challenge these ideas. In the end, are you proud of your country?
I'm proud as a Chinese, I still can be clearly trying to see through history, to see the possibilities with this nation and its own people. I still can say there's a chance, but I'm not proud to see China as a nation performed today in the world level. I don't think Chinese culture and its people contribute to the world civilization today.
Weiwei, we have to end there, but thank you so much for being on Hard Talk. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That was an edition of Hard Talk presented by me, Stephen Sacker. For details of our complete range of podcasts and our terms of use, go to bbcworldservice.com/podcasts.